WROK.
Good morning, everybody. Dave Schmidt along with Matt Nestor and producer Tom Warner. Let's get right into this. One of our favorite new people from hsbball.com is Jack Gleason. And Jack's in basketball heaven, 3A and 4A regional championships last night. And Jack, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, Dave. Matt, how are you guys doing?
Hey, enjoying basketball.
Hey, you were at Geneva last night. Tell us a little bit about that game, because they're going to be playing Rockford Jefferson Monday night or Tuesday night.
Right. Well, the atmosphere was great there last night. Two teams that are usually pretty good, but obviously not to that magnitude. That being, in my mind, the top game in the Chicago area, really two top 10 teams playing each other. And the game was close the whole way. Interesting, it went back and forth from a momentum standpoint. There was actually a point in time early in the game where I thought Geneva was going to control it. Middle of the third quarter, I really thought that St. Charles had an opportunity to start pulling away, and all of a sudden Geneva just got them and grabbed control of the game. But it went right down to the last shot. The three-point game, St. Charles had a chance to tie it at the buzzer, and good shot from just outside the three-point line, bounced off. So Geneva won by 3. I had seen the game when they had played about 3 weeks ago, Geneva against St. Charles East, and Geneva had led at one time in that game by 25 points. They kind of overwhelmed them with their size, and to some extent they did the same thing last night. St. Charles East only ended up with 3 three-pointers, and that's really how they lived this year, was their three-point shooting. And just Geneva's size and ability to defend them out at the three-point line just created havoc for them.
You know, that kind of gets to my next question, was going to be, number one, how's the guard play of Geneva, and how is their athleticism with the size? Because I know size is the one thing that can bother Auburn as we look potentially down the road.
Right.
But what Auburn likes to do is overwhelm you athletically. So how would Geneva respond to something like that?
It's going to be very interesting. I think Geneva's size is very mobile.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Nate Navigato, who is definitely one of the top 10 players in the Chicago area, who is 6'7", very mobile, good shooter from both inside and outside, just an excellent player. And then they've got 4 other guys who are 6'5" or bigger. One very unique player named is Ludin Volbrek, who's 6'8", and when you're going to see him, you're going to go, he's a basketball player. He looks a little on the overweight side, but also is very, very mobile and does a really nice job inside, can handle the ball. You'll be shocked when you see him. But so they do have that mobility. However, their guard play, their 2 guards, Pace Temple and Daniel Santa Catarina, are both football players. They're really tough kids, and they handle the ball reasonably well, but St. Charles has been able to bother them with their pressure in the 2 games I've seen them, as well as a game I saw at St. Charles North where the guards really bothered them. So I guess you'd call their guard play weak from a ball handling standpoint. That's going to be the question against Auburn. Mm-hmm. Is Auburn going to wreak havoc with them on their press? And my gut would be yes, they will, so that will negate their size.
What are you hearing about Elgin Larkin? You know, Auburn beat them earlier in the season at the Classic here in Rockford, but they got a couple of, they got a sophomore that can play pretty good basketball. What are you hearing about them? They'll be playing Auburn again in the sectionals.
Right. Larkin, and I listened earlier in the show when you were talking about it, started to, gave that some more thought. Larkin I kind of dismissed at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They had a really good year last year. They lost most of their starters. So I kind of dismissed them. I saw him play early in the year, probably that first or second weekend against Morgan Park, and Morgan Park handled them reasonably easily. But when I look at their schedule right now, they're 20-8. They've only lost 8 games, and 2 of those losses have been to St. Charles East, 2 to St. Charles North, who was also real good. The loss to Auburn, the loss to Geneva. They won at Jacobs, the holiday tournament. So I think that they're a lot better than anybody's given them credit for. You mentioned Christian Negrin, who's the sophomore, who is a really good player, but he's still a sophomore. He disappears at times during games. They have a really good shooter, a kid named Tanner Gordon, excellent three-point shooter, and then a pretty good guard, Charles Sanders, who's a good ball handler. So they've got the 3 pieces you need to be a decent team. obviously I haven't seen Jefferson play in that sectional, so I guess I'd probably give them the edge as the third team right now.
Have they improved since early in the year? I know when they played Auburn here, and that just seems like ages ago at this point. McFadden, I don't think could have played any worse in that game. They struggled with turnovers. The one thing that happened in that game, which could maybe cause some problems for Auburn, is Auburn had no answers for Negron down low, and if McFadden can play better and they don't turn the ball over as much, I think that game could get interesting.
Right, I agree. Negron needs to be consistent. McFadden, he's been, the games I've seen, same thing, very inconsistent. One of the games he didn't even start, the game I saw at Geneva. But he has the potential to wreak havoc on those guys. As we talked about the last time we talked, I saw the game against St. Rita, and Auburn just seemed to be freaked out by the size and the speed. They're not going to see the speed with Geneva, but they're going to see the size. So, I'd still give Auburn the edge. And it's interesting, you talk about the Larkin game at Thanksgiving time. That's probably when I dismissed them. Saw how bad they got beat by Auburn. I didn't understand at the time how good Auburn was. And then a week later, they play Morgan Park, and I'm at the game, and they're young. And,
right.
But no, they obviously have gotten better as the year's gone on. They beat Geneva last week in the last conference game and actually cost Geneva the conference title outright. They ended up in a tie with St. Charles East. So they're capable.
How does the sectional stack up when you look around the state? I think early in the year, everybody in this area kind of overlooked this sectional, because you didn't know what some of these other teams are going to do. But now you've got a potential matchup of, two top 10 teams in Auburn and Geneva. How does that kind of stack up when you look at some of the other sectionals around the state?
I think it makes it one of the three top sectionals in 4A because of those two teams. A potential matchup on Friday night between Auburn and Geneva is a potential matchup between two top 10 teams. So I agree. The other one, obviously the Waukegan sectional with Stevenson and Lake Forest, it has the potential to be excellent. I'm doubting Lake Forest now after watching them play Stevenson twice. They have a wonderful, excellent team, but I don't know about their ability to beat Stevenson. And then you've got the sectional at Eisenhower where you've got potentially Simeon against St. Rita, blockbuster game. Those two teams playing earlier in the year with St. Rita beating Simeon. So I'm really interested to see that. But no, I think all of a sudden the Calp sectional became really good.
Jack, let's talk about surprises. What team are you looking out there who's playing really well now that might just sneak up on somebody in 3A and 4A and turn everything into upside down where all the experts don't know anything?
The team that has been the most unusual or story this year to me has been Providence in the Lennox. And there's a logical reason. They have shot up in the rankings here. I think this week they were ranked 8th or 9th in the Chicago area polls. Really came out of nowhere 2 weeks ago. They had football players who were injured. Miles Boykin is their big center, and he, I believe, is going to Notre Dame to play football. So he didn't start playing until January. He had some football injury, and they also had another football player who's really their 5th or 6th man that started playing then. And since then, I believe they've only lost one game. They blew through the Catholic League tournament and beat St. Rita, Hales Franciscan, and St. Joseph, who were all three solid top 10 teams, and beat them, pretty easily. When I say easily, by 10 points or so. So they're in the Bolingbrook sectional, and they're looking really strong to me, and there's a team that nobody's really heard about. I would say they're the favorite in that sectional right now, and possibly in the super sectional game at Hinsdale Central.
Real quick before we let you go, I don't think we're breaking new ground, but has anybody done anything to supplant Stevenson as the favorite?
Well, Simeon beating them in Niles West 2 weeks ago, I would say threw a question mark in their whole juggernaut. And the way they beat them, where they really shut down Brunson in the fourth quarter, probably has put some doubt in Stevenson's mind. So I think that game, that potential state championship game, could be really good.
Well, Jack, we've got a busy day today. We thank you for taking time again. You only go to 1,500 games a year, don't you?
I'm going to probably hit 3 digits this year, but I haven't counted them all up yet.
That a guy I enjoy your gym pictures. I enjoy that, all that good stuff. So,
well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me on. I love to talk to you guys, and I usually listen on Saturday mornings too.
Oh, great.
Stream, so I'm always interested in what's going on. You keep me up to date on the Rockford area.
Well, you're a good man, Jack. Maybe we'll make a promo out of that. I'll have to keep that in mind, okay?
Okay.
Thanks. We've been talking to Jack Gleason of hsbball.com. Back next, in person, at the studio. Rockford Lutheran's Nate Weeding will be here, so stay tuned for that right here on the State Line Sports Hour on News Talk 1440 WROK.
We know you spend way